Well, police are classifying the brutal beheading of an Oklahoma woman and the stabbing of another as, quote, workplace violence. But what about the suspect in this case and his controversial ties to radical Islam? Should this case be classified as terror, or do we have another Fort Hood on our hands? We are joined now by Texas Governor Rick Perry. Good morning, sir.
How are you?
Always great to have you here.
Good to be with you.
Is this just another workplace violent case?
Yeah. I think Americans aren't confused about what this is, that this is a clear case of an individual going in and doing something that doesn't meet their definition of workplace violence. So, I think any rational thinking American is going to look at this and go, this is more than just normal workplace violence.
Sure. And you look at this guy's Facebook page, he was clearly obsessed with Islamic extremism. And what does he do? He beheads somebody. I mean, before the ISIS videos have come out, when was the last time we heard of anybody beheading anybody? It just seems like if it's not connected, it's the craziest coincidence ever.
Well, I made the point that, other than the video, everything else here seems to follow into to that type of activity. But again, give the appropriate time to really do the investigation, make sure that that is in case the fact, that is the point in fact. But at some point in time, I think the administration does have to address this as what it appears to many people that it is, and that is an act of violence that is associated with terrorism.
Because I think it's insulting to people's intelligence. We've been through this now for at least 13 years, if we're paying attention. We know about the danger of radical Islam. When you pretend like it's not linked, I think that Americans get insulted. But who knows? Let's see where this investigation goes. Meanwhile, the president speaking last night on 60 Minutes. Governor, I don't know if you had a chance to watch it. You traveled. But he talked about our war against ISIS, and our war is not against Islam. Listen.
This is not America against ISIL. This is America leading the international community to assist a country with whom we have a security partnership with. I made very clear, we are not at war against Islam. Islam is a religion that preaches peace, and the overwhelming majority of Muslims are peaceful. But in the Muslim world right now, there is a cancer that has grown for too long that suggests that it is acceptable to kill innocent people who worship a different God.
The JV team grew into cancer.
Yeah. A major admission that this administration got it wrong. And it goes back to leaving Iraq without an American presence. I think this is the result. And it would be interesting to me if the president will ever make that admission. I don't know whether he will or not, but the fact is we do have a major issue on our hand there. And being able to destroy them, degrade them, as the president said, you're going to have major heavy weaponry in the hands of the Peshmerga. You're going to have continued heavy assault from using air assets, and you're going to have assets on the ground to do that.
Is there a problem, Governor, with a leader of a state like yours or a country like ours to admit when you're wrong? Is it a problem?
I get to admit I'm wrong from time to time. I know it's not probably the easiest thing in the world, but when you made an error, you need to stand up and say, you know what, we miscalculated, we made an error here. Because the American people, in my case, the Texas people, are not going to trust you if you stand up and say, you know what, I'm 100% right 100% of the time. People know that's not the case because human nature is not going to allow.
Because you blame James Clapper for the failure in intelligence.
And he blamed George Bush.
Yeah. The president needs to be looking for a way to address the issue. And the issue is ISIS is a legitimate threat. It's not just a legitimate threat in that region of the world. It's a legitimate threat in the United States. I mean, that is one of the reasons that we sent our National Guard to the border to send a very clear message that that border is going to be secure. And we're going to have not only a law enforcement presence there, we're going to have the military in the form of the National Guard as a partner in that effort as well.
Great.
And it is working. I mean, we knew that if you put a presence, it's just like a neighborhood watch. It's just like having a residual force in Iraq.
Right, the
bad guys are going to know it.
Sure.
They're going to see that, and they're going to respond. In the case of the border, individuals who are coming up with the understanding that you cross the border and you can come into the United States and stay, they now understand that that is not the case.
I want to ask you this, Governor. The president also said in that interview that he believed, and I will summarize, that Americans are better off now than they were 6 years ago. You say?
Well, if he's talking about economically, then everybody in this country knows that, or the vast majority of the people in this country know that that's not true.
Sure.
When we think about are we safer, I think most Americans would say, you know what, we really don't think we're safer. We don't feel safer when we have a border that is insecure, when we have an economy that is still so weak and anemic.
Right.
I don't see how the president can say that with a straight face, frankly.
Well, he had 72% approval on his handling of terror after bin Laden's killed. He's lost 40 points on that since.
Governor, we appreciate you stopping by. We know that you're very busy here in New York City. And why are you going to Europe?
A couple of reasons. We were asked to come give a major speech on energy, and which we are, and then Rad Sikorski, the former foreign minister of Poland, invited us over as well to talk about liquefied natural gas and coming into the Baltic, and we'll make a trip into the Ukraine as well. So it's a very good opportunity for us to go talk about energy security for Europe using American energy.
If you want to push back against the Russians, that's the way to do it.
Indeed it is.
Governor, thanks so much. Great to see you.
Brian.
All right.
Thank
If you
you,
need a
Governor.
subway map, Elizabeth has one, because I know, the Texas doesn't have big subways.
I sure do. Governor, pleasure to have you.